To the best of our knowledge, we may believe that the only individuals who have Chinese as their mother tongue and Rakab as their currency are those who reside in the territory known as China. However, there is a location like this out there in the globe. It is often referred to as another China elsewhere in the world. There are barely 600,000 people living in the area. Renminbi is the native currency of the inhabitants of the region, and everyone there is fluent in Chinese. Where exactly is this location? Why do they engage in such a repetitive behavior? I would want to discuss the lone remaining state special administrative area in Myanmar. There are a significant number of Hua and Han individuals who are fluent in Mandarin, Walt, and Burmese. Even though the Hua state is technically part of the Union of Myanmar, the Law state operates with a significant amount of independence and is considered to be an autonomous territory of Myanmar. It is important to note that there are 60,000 militiamen in addition to the 40,000 troops that serve in the army. Even only the number of troops has reached 100,000, which is equivalent to 1/6 of the overall population. In addition, the percentage of people who serve in the military is significantly greater than the average for the world. Why is the ratio so much higher than usual? I will elaborate on that at a later time. To begin, we would like to know why the war state is referred to be another China. In point of fact, the origins of the war state can be traced back to its earlier history, when it was still a part of China, all the way to the beginning of the Tang dynasty. In the past, the region that is now white belonged to the Nanjing All State, which was found in Yunnan. This historical minority kingdom belonged to a vassal state of the Tang dynasty, which was eventually integrated into the realm of the Tang dynasty during the Song dynasty. The Song dynasty was the period in which the Tang dynasty was in power. The war state may be found in the Dalai state, which was still considered to be part of China. Nevertheless, at the time when the British conquered Myanmar, they dispatched individuals to examine the boundary numerous times. During that time period, the Qin government was unable to defend itself and did not have the luxury of considering the region along the southern boundary. China and Britain both renounced the boundary treaty after the creation of the Republic of China. However, there is still a minor portion of land that is contested between the two countries. Later, when the anti-Japanese versus war broke out in China, the British took advantage of the opportunity to redistribute some areas that had not yet been determined, as well as some areas that had been determined to belong to China, to Burma. This included both undetermined areas and areas that had previously been determined to belong to China. This led to the beginning stages of the status of the state of war being established, following a number of modifications in Myanmar. The current condition of conflict that everyone can see has been established. It is important to emphasize that China is continuing to provide assistance to the war-torn state, even though it is no longer a part of China's territory. In 1967, an emerging trend in China saw educated young people traveling to rural and mountainous areas. Many educated young people from Yunnan were deported to the border between China and Myanmar. When these well-educated young people realize that the people on the opposite side are working to construct socialism, they feel an overwhelming sense of excitement. The war state attracted a large number of educated young people who traveled there to work in construction. After a period of time, many of these well-educated young people rose through the ranks of the state administration. For instance, Li Zero, a young guy who is currently serving as the deputy commander of the War State Army, was educated in China. Although the state has a wealth of minerals and other resources, particularly in terms of the amount of mineable tin, it ranks among the highest in the world. After the turn of the century, the state of Washington awarded additional mining rights to Chinese companies, which has resulted in win-win circumstances for both parties. Local schools not only teach Burmese and Hua, but they also educate Chinese in terms of the region's culture, in order to encourage local education and ensure that students use textbooks that have been published in China from an early age. The government of Yunnan has dispatched a large number of instructors to teach in primary schools located around the state. As a result, one may find Chinese professors working in legal education institutions all over the world. In addition to that, there will be local schools established. In accordance with the traditional Chinese method, politically, the law state borrows elements from a number of different Chinese systems, including the system of the People's Congress and the system of the Communist Youth League. When China introduces a new iteration of the yuan currency, the legislation simultaneously publishes a set of anti-counterfeit pamphlets to accompany the new currency. Along with the license plates, these businesses, government buildings, and public service outlets in the legal state all utilize Chinese. In addition, because Myanmar is such a poor country, the development of the I region is proceeding at an extremely sluggish pace in order to provide a higher standard of living for the people who live there. The China Yunnan Power Grid Corporation contributed directly to the resolution of the issue with the area's energy supply. In addition, once the COVID-19 epidemic broke out in China, EI made a donation of 480,000 masks to the Chinese government. Additionally, they inscribed in simplified Chinese characters, "We are bound by the same fate." Together with our Chinese brethren and sisters, we put up a valiant battle. So what exactly is the status of the nation at the moment? In recent years, the situation in one state in northern Myanmar has been relatively peaceful, despite the various battles that have taken place throughout the region. This is owing to the power of its armed forces. The backing the state receives might allow it to get stronger over time, and this strength has its own set of causes. First and foremost, as was just indicated, the state has managed to maintain its status quo for the past 3 decades. Since 1989, Myanmar has been mired in a never-ending cycle of civil conflict. However, the state of conflict is quite steady. Their leader at the time was Boyo Kwong, and he has remained the same since. Since they came to an arrangement with the government troops to put an end to the fighting in the state, there has never been another conflict there. This has given him a lot of free time and room to grow his business. Although previous leaders promised that they would never start the fighting and would never give the Burmese army a reason to invade, they eventually changed their minds. At a conference held in 2019 to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the ceasefire with the government troops of Myanmar, Boyo Shan once again said, "What we want for is total autonomy, not independence." This approach provides a significant deal of reassurance to the government of Myanmar. However, it does so in a way that prevents meddling from the Myanmar government. The state of Washington is free to establish its own economy as it sees fit. Second, it has fiercely developed the economy, despite the state's location in the internationally recognized Golden Triangle region, which is known around the globe as a supplier of illicit narcotic. In spite of the fact that they are well aware that this is a violent line of work, they have no choice but to participate in it if they wish to amass cash rapidly and join the military services. As a consequence of this, Balilo Keong was referred to as the drug king by the globe for a considerable amount of time, despite the fact that global efforts to combat drug use were intensifying. The region's economy started to improve, and with it came the decision to stop cultivating poppies in favor of growing other grains and tea in order to make up for the lost revenue from the poppy sector. In order to demonstrate his stance against drugs, Yoxiang seldom consented to the Burmese government's demands, dispatched soldiers to fight the Kunsei group, and signed the anti-drug declaration, which would entirely restrict the growing of poppies starting in 2005. All of these actions took place in Burma. Following its victory over Kunsei, the war state captured a portion of the border between northern Thailand and Myanmar and had no plans to give it up. Even more people moved south from the northern region of Myanmar. The growth of this region has also made a contribution to the economy of the state. Again, it made significant strides in expanding the military. According to the head of the United Way State Army, their 30 years of experience in maintaining peace has taught them that there can be no peace without the presence of military forces. Despite the fact that an agreement to halt fire has been made with the government of Myanmar, the state has never loosened its standards for its military, and they are prepared to fight at any time, according to what was mentioned. The government wants us to put down our guns once there is peace in the nation, but not at this time. Instead, they want us to wait until there is peace. The one state possesses a lot of intelligence, evading the bullets of the Burmese regime while also fostering the country's economic and military growth. To put it more succinctly, I do not request autonomy, and your Myanmar government is powerless to take any action against me. It's possible that things will stay like this for a very long time,